Welcome to this episode of D&D Failed. Today's topic is on combat. So we found 8 things that weren't just repeating something from either our martials or unarmed or other different D&D Failed videos. I wanted to focus on things that were purely combat related and didn't focus more on other classes or groupings. The first one would be that combat takes so long in D&D. Specifically 5e. Now I know you might say that there are ways to speed it up, and that's great, but the base system in itself, as written, as it tells you to do it, is very slow. For an example, our D20 core system is rapidly much faster. We don't have something called a combat session, unless we were doing something like a Coliseum or fighting tournament where we could get 4 to 6 rounds of combats, and we would have no problem making that a singular session. 1 combat, maybe 2 per session is very easy. It doesn't take up more than 30 minutes. Most of the time, less. Second thing is, combat tends to end up with everyone lining up that's a martial, or at least half martial, in line combat. Just enemy to enemy to enemy like this. And, it's got mechanics like moving away makes you at risk of an extra attack. You really want to if you're going to be efficient, just stand there and hit on your turn and then move on. Where obviously archers and spellcasters are at a distance, but in this factor, yes, it does follow martials more, but it's a problem with the combat system. The third one is that the designers, in their own words, decided to make combat much easier for the power players and everyone to be able to survive, to create that kind of fantasy, but also to do so made dying really hard. The fourth thing is the martial caster divide. I know I've kind of mentioned how to solve this in other videos, but just to be clear, this in itself, you can look up videos about this for hours and continuously find people's solves, 5e supplements to completely change up the dynamic of martials to casters. The fifth thing would be there is an extreme lack of variety in martial maneuvers. We got things like smite, sneak attack, and other things like that, but those are more abilities, not actually just generic little attacks. Mainly, it's a basic attack for martials and obviously a different spell for casters, but they have all the variety where martials just get attack, attack, attack. Why didn't they bring some of the feats from 3.5 that allowed for extra abilities based off of what weapons you used, certain things accomplished in combat? Like there was one, I believe, called Cleave, where if you take an enemy's health down to 0 and still had remaining damage to give, you could have a chance to supply that onto another, in attack range target. The sixth thing is no team combo moves. There's no ability for you to actually combo your abilities as characters. You just can use them in tandem with each other, or, have someone hold this character in place while this martial gets a better attack ability against it. And, that's cool, but that's more strategy and tactics, not as much a combo move. The seventh thing is limited damage types. You got your base 3 of bashing, slashing, and piercing, and, elementally, we're decently fine. I could ask for, shadow and other types like that to be added in, but mainly we're good elementally. It's really where the martial variety of damage types suffers. And the eighth thing I found is that crits aren't balanced. There's really 2 reasons. One, if you look at it and you have a D8 weapon, you're now rolling 2d8, but you could still roll 2 on both of them, meaning you would have 4 damage. An easy fix is actually to just max 1 die and roll the other. Guaranteed you're able to do more damage than you would with 1 strike, so it will always and routinely feel like a crit. But on the higher end, yes, you will have some major damage, but didn't they roll well, then roll well again? Kinda deserve it. Second part of this one is that there's a lack of things that have the ability to crit. Not everything in the game can. So do come to check out the D20 core system, the link's in my profile, and follow along so you continue to get updates up with our definitive edition 5e supplement. But until next time. and I'll catch you later.